He woke in the dimness of the cabin. Engines humming outside. Beneath, the earth spun quietly. He was on his way to the underneath to visit a friend. And in doing so, was missing winter. His homeland was in chaos. The ship slipped beneath the underside of space. Hours and days disappearing in the slow blink of an eye. Time to destination. 4 hours, 5 minutes, 21 seconds. His friend greeted him and drove him back to a house on the side of a hill. The landscape stretched out beneath. The country was full of space and light, as if someone had opened up his head and shined a light inside. Over the last 2 years, noises had begun to create pain within him. Babies crying, people talking on phones. He discovered the word misophonia, the word for an oversensitivity to noise. He took out his camera, framed things in the viewfinder. f1.8, ISO 400, 100th of a second. He had no family left, only a son who no longer spoke to him. There was a war in the distance, conspiracy theorists fighting the government. His friend had bookshelves full of sci-fi. Lem, Dick, Aldous, Le Guin, Clark, Atwood, Ballard. He started to think about his own sci-fi project and what it might be called. Maybe if he thought of a name, he would be closer to making it. Mysterious object floats in space. We can remember it for you. The Elsewhere Machine. He'd been there for over a month. Each day took on a different shape. He grew fond of the song the bird made in the tree outside. He pointed his camera and adjusted the exposure. He pressed record. Light touching the sensor. How long should a shot be? What was too long? What was too short? Time flowed around his feet. He'd arranged to meet a woman in New Tokyo. His friend took him to catch his flight. The ship whispered to the clouds and slipped northward. He arrived at night. His body scanned for viruses. People wore masks everywhere. Touching was outlawed, even amongst families. He met the woman in a bar called Black. They drank whiskey and sat on stools. Was it minutes or hours that passed? She said they'd met the year before, but he had no recollection of ever meeting her. Had it been someone who just looked like him? Or did he have a clone somewhere? She gave him a gift in a box and said it would help him remember. Next morning, he took out the object. It seemed to operate with its own mysterious laws. Days passed. He traversed the city. He began to remember old times. He was able to go over the precise geography of his childhood home. He pointed his camera at the city. Small events unfolded. Seconds ticking by in the corner of his display. Moments passing, only to be replayed later. Cinema as time machine. (250 megabytes per second). Data registered on the card. Sooner or later, he'd run out of memory. The driver took him to the ship. He thought about the film and wondered if sci-fi even existed anymore. Then, soon, skirting the lower reaches of space, lights dimmed, movies playing. He wondered if he was somehow still in his hotel room in New Tokyo, and only dreaming this journey. He tried to sleep, but couldn't. 60,000 feet, 800 kilometers per hour. Time to destination, 560 minutes, 43 seconds. Back in the overneath, the object was confiscated. They said it would need to be examined. He realized the future was already here. He just hadn't been ready for it. Back at home, he got a message from the woman he met in the bar. She was sorry she hadn't made it in person, but hoped he enjoyed her clone's company. From the report, she wasn't sure they were compatible, His eyes had betrayed a tendency towards fearful introspection. But she wished him luck in his search. He went out for coffee. His mind seemed elsewhere. Was there a version of him still in the underneath that had decided not to leave? Death felt closer now than ever, like a mysterious figure that followed him around. Looking at people, especially women, was outlawed, unless one had written permission. What if he looked at someone by mistake? Security cameras. Face recognition. He wondered if he'd ever see his son again. Sooner or later, he knew few traces of him would exist. His OS asked him if he'd like it to edit the footage he'd shot into a film that might express his existential feelings. He said okay. He thought he should sleep, and his OS began a countdown to darkness. He dreamt that night of the woman in the bar. They were lovers. She turned to him and spoke. Her mouth moved, but no sound emerged.